Whether it's fighting or drinking or whether it's good or bad, you're going all in. It's dangerous.
The problem. Yeah. The problem is like we see with Conor. When they don't have the fighting, then they go all in with the other things.
Oh Dustin Poirier! All right, drops Dustin.
I'll fight you right now.
No, I don't want to fight, bro.
I'll go with you right now.
Bro, I don't want to fight. Bro, I don't want to fight.
Let's go.
I don't want to fight.
Let's go.
Dustin Poirier went from working a fast food counter for minimum wage to fighting for the undisputed UFC lightweight title 3 separate times, beating some of the greatest fighters of his generation along the way. Then he lost every one of those 3 title fights, and for years the sport had a word for men like that: gatekeeper. Good enough to test a champion, never good enough to become one. Somehow Poirier walked away more loved than most of the men who actually wore the belt. Here's how the brief fight that mattered most and won something the belt was never going to give him.
Ready to have you?
Yeah,
step
tell
up.
him. Tell him, come on.
Get a couple of
Because it's going to be bad.
Bro, just
It's going to be bad, man.
Oh, bro.
Somewhere in these 3 losses is the exact reason nobody remembers Dustin Poirier as a man who came up short. Watch closely, because the moment that explains it isn't the biggest fight of his career, it's the smallest gesture in it.
Let's go. Arrest me. All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Nobody in Lafayette believed a high school dropout behind a fast food counter belonged anywhere near the UFC, including Dustin himself. The strange part is that one decision made during those years would eventually become the exact reason he survived everything that came later. Lafayette, Louisiana. Behind the counter at a Raising Cane's, a teenager hands over chicken tenders, counts the register, clocks out, and drives straight to a gym. Poirier grew up poor, in a town that had never sent a fighter to the UFC. He'd already dropped out of school, $7 an hour, folded into an envelope for his mom, and at the same table he tells her he's going to make it in a cage. Nobody laughs, nobody says they believe him either. The man Joe Rogan would eventually call the scariest lightweight alive was frying chicken for minimum wage. Every night after his shift, the same hands throwing combinations in an empty gym, nobody watching. He didn't need a spotlight, he just needed a reason. And Louisiana gave him plenty.
I feel for Dustin, man. Like, I get choked up even thinking about it because he's such a good dude, you know what I mean? And people are just ridiculing him in the media for one slip up he's had. This dude's done so many amazing things in the sport, outside the sport, the foundations that he's done, how many people he's helped in his life, even the people that he's, you know, given a chance of where he's came from in Louisiana to where he's done in the UFC and the world to motivate them. And it's like, oh, people want to just think, you know, and he's got to come out there and do these videos of apologizing, like, hey man, you made a mistake. Like, it happens. We all make. We're humans. We're not perfect.
A unanimous decision, Dustin the Diamond Poirier. Declaring the winner by unanimous decision, Dustin the Diamond Poirier.
Ultra competitive, 145-pound division.
Now he's gonna break his arm.
It is all over.
He turned pro and signed with the UFC in 2011 and kept winning. Josh Grisby, Jason Young, Pablo Garza.
That was on Josh Grisby coming in here to this fight. Look at Dustin Poirier just pouring it on. Really decided to switch up that strategy in the third, and he's been doing this a lot. Tripping that leg, straightening it out. Look at that, very nicely done.
Finish it. It is all over.
Nicely done.
Then, in just his 4th fight, he caught a teenage prospect named Max Holloway in a triangle armbar and submitted him in the 1st round, years before either man had any idea what that name would come to mean by the end of this story. Then came the Korean Zombie, Chan Sung-young, in a 4-round war that ended with Poirier tapping to a submission. The first real crack in the run. The betting favorite was about to walk into the biggest mistake of his career, and he had no idea the man standing across from him was about to define the next decade of his life. September 2014. Weeks earlier, Conor McGregor stared into a camera. I'll end this quickly. This guy doesn't belong in the same conversation as me. The bell rings. Poirier, the betting favorite, steps forward looking to make a statement. McGregor doesn't wait. A straight left lands, Poirier's legs buckle, and McGregor finishes it in 106 seconds. He climbs the cage before Poirier's corner even reaches him, arms raised. The crowd roaring around a body still on the canvas. By morning, the word is everywhere. Gatekeeper, a name you beat on your way to someone who mattered. Most careers don't survive a night like that. His barely did, and it left one question hanging over everything that came next. What happens the next time these two men meet? 5 years of rebuilding had finally bought him another chance. The problem was that even beating one of the most dangerous men in the sport still wasn't going to erase the label he'd been carrying since Conor McGregor.
Poirier is sharp with those hands tonight.
That's going to be it.
The hit is down again.
Poirier has just gotten so much better.
Uppercuts. Hook.
For the winner by unanimous decision, Cub Swanson.
Alvarez is still swinging though. Look at this. What a warrior, Eddie Alvarez. That's the Poirier finish.
That is it. Dustin Poirier. Poirier continues to land.
But he doesn't have the wherewithal to clinch.
Dustin Poirier. Goodness. Knockout.
Dustin the Diamond.
In between, there was a whole career most highlight reel skip. Wins over Carlos Diego Ferreira, Yancy Medeiros, Joe Duffy, and Bobby Green. 4 in a row.
Oh, he might be out. There it is. Dustin Poirier. Welcome back to one.
Staying calm, so you can see he is on wobbly feet. A great stoppage by Big John McCarthy.
No time left. Wow.
They go the distance.
Poirier.
It is all over.
A TKO loss to Michael Johnson broke the streak. He answered it with a fight so violent that it won Fight of the Year against Justin Gaethje, the first time these two names ever shared a poster. And then a rematch win over Eddie Alvarez after their first meeting had ended in a no contest.
Let's go. So he's gonna do 3, 2, and then 3 singles with maximal effort. So that's it. Oop, oop, oop.
And then just making sure his head's right, the game plan's perfect, going through the same routines that we always go through, making sure his diet's spot on, his weight's perfect, down to the...
5 years pass in gyms that most fans never see. New coaches, new weight class, a body rebuilt from the ground up. Reporters still open every interview the same way. Worried about being just a gatekeeper? By 2019, he's standing across from Max Holloway, riding 13 straight wins, and the same man Poirier had once submitted when nobody was watching. 5 rounds later, Poirier's hand is raised, the interim title fastened around his waist. The kid who used to hand out chicken tenders was now holding UFC gold. But before he's even back in the locker room, a Chiron scrolls under his face. Interim champion. Fans type it in scare quotes. He'd carry that word into 3 more fights before it stopped haunting him. There's a version of this story where Dustin Poirier becomes undisputed champion. It almost happened more than once. What actually happened instead reveals something about him that winning never could have.
Yeah, so it makes you think, like, what do I do now? What do I do with my future? What do I do? What do you want to do?
Dude, I kind of got, like, for a week or so, I wouldn't say depressed, but I kind of got into like a funk, like what the hell am I going to do with my life? Every day I would wake up for the last 20 years, how can I be a better fighter? What's new in fitness? How can I push myself? I want to be the champion, and then boom, you lay the gloves down and you wake up and you're a fucking civilian. Like,
right.
It feels crazy.
For years, Dustin had been trying to prove that he belonged among champions. Now, the only man standing in front of him had spent his entire career making champions look ordinary. Abu Dhabi, September 2019. Khabib Nurmagomedov walks out 27-0. A man who has never been taken down in the UFC, never let a fight see the scorecards, and for 3 rounds, Poirier does what almost nobody else in the division has managed. He stays in the fight, trading with him, refusing to fold. Then, in round 3, Khabib closes the distance, gets the takedown, and buries him under the kind of pressure that doesn't let up. The choke comes, Poirier tapped. Across the sport, other fighters who had already lost to Khabib the exact same way post the exact same message that night. No shame in this one. But when the number that matters most is still sitting at 0, the gatekeeper talk gets louder.
Corner Mike Brown for some advice. Early takedown for Khabib. Now working on a little bit of a neck crank, not under the chin. Up against the fence. Takedown.
The speed on that double leg is just incredible. And that's a real difference in anything that
Put on the defensive early in this fight. Some nice ground strikes now from the champion. Oh, big elbow from Khabib. Poirier forced to squirm out.
Before any of that came another one for the record books. Dan Hooker, 2020. 25 minutes of the kind of violence that ends up on highlight reels for a decade. A decision win that reminded everyone exactly what made Poirier dangerous in the first place. The man who had finished him in under 2 minutes was waiting for him again, except revenge was never going to look the way Dustin had spent 7 years imagining it. January 2021. Something felt different before the rematch. Gane was the loudest man in the room. McGregor shook Poirier's hand, praised his charity, even promised to donate $500,000 to the Good Fight Foundation. For the first time, it looked like the old rivalry had finally become mutual respect. Then, the cage door closed. Poirier started chopping at McGregor's lead leg, round after round, until he simply couldn't stand on it anymore. Second round, TKO. 6 months later, everything had changed again. The respectful McGregor disappeared. At every press conference, he was back to threatening Dustin, insulting his family, screaming that he'd kill him inside the octagon, even claiming, "Your wife is in my DMs."
Your wife is in me DMs, hey baby, hit me back on my chat later on.
The Trilogy wasn't a sporting rivalry anymore, it had become personal. Then, midway through the first round, McGregor planted his foot, and his leg folded underneath him. Instead of standing over the man who had spent months trying to humiliate him, Poirier dropped to his knees, waving the medics over before the referee had even finished stopping the fight. Fans who had spent 7 years calling him a gatekeeper suddenly weren't talking about titles anymore. They were talking about the kind of man Dustin Poirier had become. This time, the entire sport was certain he'd finally get it right, which only made it harder to explain what happened when he didn't. December 2021, Las Vegas. Charles Oliveira, the new lightweight champion, meets him in the center of the octagon, and for 2 rounds, it's competitive. Trading, testing each other. Then, round 3. Oliveira gets the grip he's looking for, sinks in, and it's over. Another rear naked choke. 2 undisputed title fights, 2 identical finishes, the exact same method both times. In the post-fight press conference, a reporter asks him straight, "Do you think you'll ever get past this?" He doesn't have an answer. The clip gets clipped and re-clipped online for weeks, and somewhere quietly building toward his own reign, a Dagestani wrestler is about to give Poirier one last chance to finally break it. Along the way, there was Michael Chandler, choked out in the 3rd round, a beef with Colby Covington that never made it into the cage.
No, I'll never fight Colby in an octagon where there's finances on the line. If I fight Colby, we're both going to jail. I'm going to jail. I'm not going to fight him in the octagon.
There was Justin Gaethje again, this time for the sport's symbolic BMF title, ending in a knockout loss. And then there was Benoit Saint Denis, put away in the 2nd round, the last win of Poirier's career before the biggest test still waiting for him. By 2024, Dustin Poirier had beaten legends, avenged old defeats, and become one of the most respected fighters of his generation. He still hadn't beaten the one thing that would have changed how history remembered him. One final opportunity was coming, and this time, what it would cost him wasn't just a fight, it was the ending everyone assumed he deserved.
Blocks the punch. Fully mounted on him, and Max Holloway forced a tap there. He's going to get his arm broken if he didn't.
What a warrior, Eddie Alvarez. That's the Poirier finish.
That
is Dustin Poirier. June 2024, New Jersey. The man across the cage had trained in the same room under the same coach as the one fighter he had already broken him once.
I'm gonna knock you outside of here. Sleep. I'm gonna sleep slap you.
You will sleep if you knock
I'm
out.
gonna sleep slap you. You're gonna be diving for my legs, praying.
Stop, you will sleep.
You're gonna be diving for my legs. Don't sleep.
Don't say.
Don't sleep.
Don't say.
Don't get in my face.
Don't get in my face. Be respectful. Don't do this.
And this time, a loss wouldn't just cost him a belt, it would cost him the last argument he had left.
No, it's one thing I want to brother, it's not in my country. You cannot say this.
I have respect for you, brother.
You don't say
But don't get in my face like that. We're gonna fight.
We're gonna fight, of course.
4 rounds in, and Poirier is doing what nobody expected. Stunning Makhachev on the feet, opening a deep cut over his eye, watching the champion's corner shout instructions between rounds for the first time in years. For a moment, it looks like the 3rd attempt might really be the one. Then, round 5. Makhachev finds the Darce, cinches it, and Poirier taps for the final time in an undisputed title fight. 3 attempts, 3 losses, all 3 by submission. Microphone in his face, blood is still drying on his cheek. He looks past the camera for a second before he answers, "I don't know what I'm chasing anymore." Nobody in the arena moves, nobody boos. 3 failed title shots had finally forced Dustin to ask himself a question he had spent 15 years avoiding. The answer wasn't another championship.
Yeah.
Right. Fighting was always, for me, always pulled everything together, you know? That's why, like, retiring is scary, man. Days are long. I have a lot of time. I don't have to get ready for a fight.
Months pass with no announcement, no press release, no interview, just silence. Then it comes. Not a title eliminator, not a #1 contender fight, but New Orleans printed across the poster. His home state for the first time in a decade. His opponent, Max Holloway, a man he's already beaten twice, now carrying the sport's symbolic BMF belt and a redemption arc of his own to finish. A reporter asked him at the press conference why he isn't chasing one more real title shot instead. He just smiles and says he's fighting where he wants to fight. Some fights aren't about what you're chasing. They're about who's in the building when you finally stop. For the first time in his career, the outcome almost feels secondary to the goodbye itself. This was the final walkout of Dustin Poirier's career. Everyone thought the result would define his legacy. They were about to discover they'd been measuring the wrong thing all along. July 19th, 2025. Holloway drops him twice in the opening rounds. Poirier's legs buckling, the crowd sucking in its breath both times, and both times he climbs back up. Round 2, he plants his feet and drops Holloway right back, hunting for the finish. 5 rounds of pure violence later, the horns sound, and both men stand in the center, foreheads pressed together, saying something only the 2 of them will ever hear. All 3 judges score it for Holloway. Poirier doesn't get his hand raised, and instead of booing, the entire arena rises to its feet, chanting his name, not Holloway's, while the scorecards are still being read.
A cloud in my mind that never went away for 20 years.
Right.
And now I wake up and it's gone. Like, what do I do?
The record books will say Dustin Poirier went 0-3 in undisputed title fights, and for years, plenty of people were happy to file him under gatekeeper and move on. But records only measure who won. They were never built to measure who mattered, and Poirier's career is the proof.
37, man.
Yeah, so it makes you think, like, what do I do now? What do I do with my future? What do you want to do?
Dude, I kind of got, like, for a week or so, I wouldn't say depressed, but I kind of got into like a funk, like what the hell am I going to do with my life? Every day I would wake up for the last 20 years, how can I be a better fighter? What's new in fitness? How can I push myself? I want to be the champion, and then boom, you lay the gloves down and you wake up and you're a fucking civilian. Like,
right.
It feels crazy.
Across 15 years, he got knocked down by the most dangerous fighters alive, got labeled a name other men beat on their way to the top, and instead of demanding the world feel sorry for him, he knelt beside the man who beat him and checked if he was okay. His legacy was never going to be measured in gold. It was measured in what he did the moment he got back up.
You know, it's tough to see because I know Dustin's such a good dude. Deep down, it's like, you know, he had one little mistake, and we all make mistakes. I'm not the best person. You know, I try to be every day, but you know, sometimes our demons get the best of us.
That's why minutes after his final loss, rivals who had ended his title dreams 3 separate times posted tributes calling it an honor to have shared the cage with him. Fans flooded his page not with pity, but with gratitude. For one night, an entire sport stopped keeping score and just said thank you.
I don't know, but I'm just having fun, being healthy, letting my body fill out. You know, I've been cutting weight for 20 years. I'm trying to find out like what my actual natural weight is.
He never needed the belt to prove he'd made it. The reaction to his last loss proved it for him. Most of us will never step into a cage, but most of us know what it feels like to get knocked down somewhere nobody's cheering for us. If you're carrying something heavy right now, reaching out isn't the moment you lose. It's the moment you get back up. A therapist, a doctor, a friend, a crisis line, that is the same instinct that had Poirier back on his feet every time he hit the canvas.
I'm pretty swole right now. What is this workout routine?
Josh Hockett, you're taking everything I work for. I'm coming to heavyweight. Nah, man, I'm retired, bro. I'm eating good. Don't have to make weight. Lifting. I built a gym at my house. Just living life, being a dad.
You don't need it all figured out for people to show up for you. It's gonna be good, my ninja. Stay in the fight. There's one fighter whose fall looked nothing like this. No tributes, no chants, just silence. That's Kamaru Usman's story. Watch it next.